Today we're going to talk about journaling. So something that I've been doing literally for the last 2 years is journaling every single day. Every day I wake up and I do what I call the morning entry. This includes stuff like how did I sleep? What am I thinking about? What am I feeling? What am I going to do today? How am I going to make this day fun or interesting? Or like, what do I have to do? And it's kind of just like this nice way of checking in, dumping my thoughts, and kind of like setting a baseline, like kind of like getting me level. Now, I put a couple things in this journal, like little check boxes, things that I need to get done every day. For example, like taking medicine or meditating or, shaving, showering, etc. So I use this journal in a couple ways. One is to make sure that I always remember to do daily tasks and do those daily habits. And the second is to check in and get a kind of like a baseline. So one of there's another person here. There is another, I believe her name is Julia Cameron. She has a book called The Artist's Way. And in there, she proposes this idea called morning pages. Morning pages is basically you wake up, the first thing you do is you start writing like 2, 3, whatever, handwritten pages of just fucking everything in your mind. You just dump it all out there and just get all of your anxieties, your worries, your thoughts, you get them on the page and you get them out of your head. And then you can start the day with a clear head. And so this is, maybe akin to that in some ways, right? You just empty your head so that you can have a clear head for the day. And, that book is like a lot of woo-woo, but I think morning pages actually work really well. And at least my version of it works really well for me. And so throughout the day, occasionally I'll come back to this journal and kind of like put some updates, like what did I do? What am I feeling? Yada, yada, like some elements, memories, moments that I want to remember go in the journal. And at the end of the day, I do what I call the daily recap. And this involves basically summarizing my day. I go through my day from the beginning to the end. And I think about all the things that happened, things I liked, things I didn't like, things that were important or not important. I dump out the rest of my thoughts. I kind of put out some anxieties that I had throughout the day and things that I might be worried about tomorrow. I make my little checklist, my to-do list, and see how I did. And then I also do something like, maybe you shouldn't do this, but something that's a little bit nerdy. I have a few like lists, and these lists include all the activities I did that day, basically like little tags. I use Notion for this. It's really great. I mean, it has a few problems there, but it works really well for me. It's my system and it's fine. Everyone else can use their own system. And I really encourage you to find a system that works for you. But most importantly, just start doing the activity. Do not worry about having it set up right. Like, don't be an architect. Be kind of an architect is an idea of someone who creates a structure before they create the building. Don't do that. Start with, iterations. Just make a TP, like a little hut of mud, i.e. your first journal entry can be digital, non-digital, a video log, whatever you want it to be. But just make sure you start, doing this. So one of the techniques I use with these tags is I put everything that I did activity-wise, might be museum or writing or art or work or, this project, that project, Rubik's Cube, tennis, like whatever it is, any activity that I did, I put it in there. And so I can see this pattern over time of the things that I have been doing. And I love that because it helps me summarize the day and the important things in that day. The next thing that I have tagged for is people. I put basically every person that I interacted to or talked to that day. Some like regular people, like randoms, not really. But I put, the names of my friends who I saw, talked to, or interacted that day. It just helps me kind of understand when the last time I saw this person was, or talk to them, or see who I'm talking to regularly or not so regularly. Then I also do like the stuff I ate, which is fine and silly, just like to keep a look at like my, health and habits and diet, etc. And I put 2 ratings in there, a 0 to 10 scale. One is my day rating. How great was this day? 10s are reserved for, spectacular, unforgettable, once in a lifetime days. And 0s are garbage days, and I put my mood rating. You could have a spectacular, amazing day, but felt like shit the whole time, right? So I put those independently. Often they correlate quite strongly, but I put these things. And it's just a way of me acknowledging that this day is over and that I kind of went through it and so on. So this is part of my journaling habit. So I want to start with that. That's the daily journal. Now, the really interesting thing happens is when you start reviewing these entries. So one thing that I like to do is at the end of every week, go back through the entries and remember what happened in my week. And it's kind of like a nice way of reliving it. And I like to do a thing I call a weekly review, which, let's be honest, I'm terrible at doing now. But I like to say these are the highlights of my week. These are the lowlights. And these are the memories that I actually really want to, hold on to and understand or are important. And this weekly review works so well with the like the having a daily entry. And another thing I like to do review wise, every day I look at my last year's entry. So today's whatever, it doesn't matter, but I look at my last year's entry, kind of just see like, oh, where were they then, where are they now, type of thing. And that's all nice. Now, here's the really interesting thing about journaling that I want to mention. It's when you look back at your entries, you can see, all of your thoughts, anxieties. I always do stream of conscious. It's very poorly written. It makes no sense. It's absolute nonsense. But I get to see all the things that I was thinking about. And it gives this incredible sense of perspective, because seeing things that were so important to you a week later when you're a slightly different person and are not stressed out by the minutia of that day or that moment, and realizing that they actually weren't important with distance, is such a good way of understanding that this too shall pass, that the things that you're freaking out about now, the things that seem important now, might not in a week. And this is just a moment where you've kind of fixated on something. And so for me, I have like a medium, amount of anxiety and worries about these things. And so it really helped as a coping technique just to get past a lot of this, seeing that the things that I was mad about, the people I was mad at, the things that really worried me kind of passed with time, and they weren't as big of a deal as I thought. And so that perspective has probably been the most important thing that's come out of journaling. I actually rarely go back and look at my entries now. I obviously want to get back into that habit because I found it really, really pleasant. But, I don't always do this. I don't, always do a morning entry and a daily recap and journal throughout the day. Like, I'm sloppy, and it's okay. It's okay to be sloppy. But I really avail myself of this tool where I put my stream of consciousness down and make lists of the things that are in my mind. And as long as they're out, like, on paper or on, saved somewhere, they're out of my head. And like, our minds should be used for thinking, not storing data, not remembering, right? Creativity is like one of the flexible thinking is one of the, the primary strengths of our mind, but memory, maybe not so much, so let's offload that to computers, because computers have great memories. So I wanted to talk about that. And there is one other thing. Oh, I've kind of forgotten it by now, but I think that's plenty for you to digest and understand. And until next time, bye.